Hey everybody, welcome back to James Shaw's Everything. And today, doing what we do every day, we're finishing off another page actually, if you can see. This is the bottom corner over here. Speaking of the bottom, we're gonna be we're gonna be bashing commies again today. So we're gonna be doing the Southeast Asian country of Laos. Alright, so Laos is one of the few remaining communist countries in the world. Right, and by communist I mean hardline commie, not just like a socialist country or heavy social programs or anything like that. Nope, Laos is still hardline Marxist, Leninist government. A little bit of Maoism in there too, because it is Asian, and of course, it's not really orthodox Marxism if it's Asian, because Mao actually kind of was different in a lot of ways, but oops, we'll get to that eventually, because we haven't done China yet, and I do get to use my cool little circle tool here. So let me just find the center. It does have quite the simple flag, but being, yeah, that works. All right, so being in Southeast Asia, just the general kind of rule of thumb that we've sort of figured out on this channel. That means it probably has a pretty topsy-turvy, all over the place kind of history. So James, yes, what can you tell us about Laos? Well, it all started with the Lao Kingdom in the 14th century under King Fa Nagum. Then for 300 years, that kingdom had reached into what is present-day Cambodia and Thailand, and what is all modern-day Laos, but then kind of gradually declines over the centuries, and they become part of Thailand. So they get absorbed into Siam, the old, the former, or what will become Thailand. So let's just get that blue. There we go. And then coming up into modern times, this was absorbed into French Indochina, right? It wasn't really focused on, though. The French were definitely far more focused on Vietnam than Laos, because Laos, it's more inland, right? So like Cambodia is south of Laos, and hold on one second here. Yeah, so like all your ports and everything would be more Cambodia, Vietnam, whereas Laos a little bit isolated from the rest of the world. So it does kind of lead to some economic backwardness to begin with. Very kind of primitive rural economy. And so after French Indochina, we can probably spend a whole day talking about that. The Franco-Siamese Treaty of 1907 basically delineates the current Laotian borders from those of Thailand. And then World War II happens, right? So this is where things start to get messy, because France, remember, they had a rogue government during World War II. So they kind of get punished a little bit for that, and they have to give up their all of their empire and all of their Asian possessions, and this kind of just drops them right into the hands of the commies. Okay, so but before that happens, I should point out that they were occupied by Japan as well during World War II, right? Because Japan had to do what they had to do to survive, right? They had to make a move on Southeast Asia. And then, so post-World War II, this is where the communists start really putting a dent in things here. A lot of it comes from China, right? From the Maoist party there. President Eisenhower of the United States actually had an operation to actually fund the anti-communist movements. So this was kind of an early example of the CIA kind of getting involved, to try to wrest power from those communists. But they did eventually fall, and and then they became communists and still are. Okay. One interesting thing too is that because of this involvement, Laos, if you look at like what the Kennedy administration was doing, and what a lot of his kind of let's just call them, like I see them, rogue intelligence advisors, they were actually planning on getting a big thing popping off in Laos and not Vietnam. So Vietnam was more like Plan B, and Laos was actually more kind of like on the front page of the news, as far as communist subversion of the third world, right? The non-aligned world, that's where that comes from. And that is kind of a Maoist thing as well. Like, all these powers that were not aligned really with anything in, as far as the capitalists in World War II, right? They weren't the Axis or the Allies; they were the non-aligned powers. So this was attractive, for these Asian communities that were, really just kind of getting dragged headfirst into modernity, right? Because it happened in Japan, but the Japanese, they obviously acclimated to it much better, right? Because they kind of industrialized with the Meiji Restoration, and that was in the 19th century. These places in Southeast Asia, not so much, right? So the French being there, it's kind of alien to them. It's going to cause a lot of resentment, and that's a perfect breeding ground for communism. So yeah, the Lao People's Revolutionary Party, and you just hear that, right? Just the name, and that's communist. It's basically been single party rule, after like the 15 years of civil war. So yeah, they actually destroyed the monarchy. So a little bit different than Cambodia, right? Because Cambodia had their little flirtation with communism, but their monarchy was restored. But Laos actually, this was a 600-year monarchy that the communists tore down. So they did kind of figure out the hard way, though, that communism doesn't work, but they still remain ideologically committed to it, right? Because that's what happens with all these communist countries, right? Even during the height of the Soviet terror, they were 100% bankrolled by pretty much the United States and their Lend-Lease programs, So, and all of the innovators there were, American fellow travelers. So, but again, they remain committed to it. They have had limited returns to private enterprise, but they still beat the book of communism. One of the only countries left, and I think I mentioned this in another episode, but it's Laos, Vietnam, North Korea, and Cuba, and China, of course. Can't forget China, and I think that's all of them. So you have other countries that are, of course, like Venezuela, not really communist, just has insane socialist policies and stuff. But these are like the hardliners that are still left. Kind of feels like a relic from the 20th century, if you ask me. But a lot of foreign investment kind of in the 21st century. They did not become one of the Asian tigers, or at least I wouldn't say that they are, because you look at neighboring Thailand, right? And that's a very kind of unregulated sort of free market capitalism there, and it's night and day as far as the GDP per capita and just the general living conditions. Thailand a million times better off than Laos. So they get a lot of their foreign aid from a lot of it from China, right? So there's tons of infrastructure projects there that the Chinese are working on. they funded about 70% of the expenses for a railway that's going through this part of the world. So get a lot of loans from China. But then they also try to reach out to the West a little bit too. So Japan, Singapore, Malaysia. But yeah, but they're still ideologically communist and remain one of the poorest countries in Asia. I mean, kind of right up there with North Africa. And then, of course, this crisis as well, this communist crisis led to a lot of emigration. And a lot of it ended up in the United States. Because that's basically what always happens, no matter what terrible things are happening in the world. It just, all it really means in the long run is that everybody is coming here. So, James, you can't end on that note. What is the flag about? So that's it. Pretty unique, right? It's sort of kind of got that Japan thing going on with the circle in the center. The red bands, of course, the blood for liberation, just beating those French out and welcoming the commies in, and of course getting more and more blood from those commies. The blue band is the Mekong River, so that also means prosperity. And the white disc, this is actually interesting. It's not purity or peace or anything like that. It represents the full moon along the river. So that's kind of cool. And it also signifies the unity of the people under the Laos People's Revolutionary Party. And oh man, they just had to go and ruin it. They had a cool little moon design, and they had to get all power to the people Marxist on me. But we'll let it slide. So I do like the symbolism there, the moon on the river. That's kind of cool. So yeah, that is Laos, and this thing actually kind of reminds me of something. If any of you guys, any of you sophisticated James Draws Everything fans, if you like to smoke cigars, that's what this kind of looks like. It looks like a cigar cutter. So maybe we can draw a Laotian cigar cutter. That's a good idea, James. Thank you. Okay, so it's always kind of got that plastic rim on it, and then the blade sort of goes through the center and just chops the tip off. I am not gonna make a joke about that because I know where your heads are at. Anyways, yeah, so some blue plastic, just good old-fashioned plastic, good old all-American plastic cigar cutter. Yeah, so you put the tip in there, and I just figured something out, right? So take one of these, right, and then that's how you do it. You put it in there and snips it off. And I just figured this out. We got communist Laos, and I did a cigar for my Cuba episode, which is also communist. So yeah, I don't really have anything other than that. I just noticed that they were both communist. Today's bonus content. So shout out to all my communist fans. But I gotta get out of here. We're getting out of control again, guys. I'm very sorry. But yeah, to all you commies, all my real fans, right? All my capitalist pigs, let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.